What's up, millionaires? All right, today is day 4 and it's Sunday and we have been rocking and rolling today. I just want to jump on here real quick and give you a little update on where we're at. We're actually getting ready to start laying a little more paint on tonight because we got all the drywall and touch-ups and all the popcorn ceiling and all that stuff torn down. So tonight is going to be a late night because we want to get at least one coat of paint on everything. So that way tomorrow we can start to touch it up and it's going to look awesome. Going into the week. Tomorrow, again, the roofers will be here and the stucco guys will be here, so that's going to be moving and shaking. And we're going to try to make it to Home Depot to grab some hardy board so we can start to possibly lay that down tonight, depending on how hard we decide to go tonight. So I'm going to give you guys a quick tour, and then I'll talk to you guys about the money side of how we get into these properties. If that's something you've ever wondered about, then you're definitely going to want to stay tuned. So let me show you a little bit of the tour and what we've got done, and then I will talk about the money side of flipping homes. All right, here we go. All right, so in here, I got all the popcorn ceiling down today, and we are getting ready to start doing a little bit of painting in here tonight. And like I said, we touched up all the walls there. Right now what we're doing is we're spraying on a little bit of plaster so we can do what's called the knockdown texture. And I'm going to try to run you past the spray gun here, a little hopper, without it being too loud. So going into this room, as you can see here, this is Sup, D? All right, so that was that's the hopper, and that's D. He is literally crushing it on that gun. And basically what we're doing is, instead of going through and like refinishing up all the walls there, which takes a lot of time, you can kind of do like this it's called the knockdown texture look. You basically spray it on with that and just give it a quick little rake. So yeah, that's going on now, and then we're gonna start going through with the spray gun and start knocking that out. All right, now let's talk money on how to fix and flip homes. This is it's really interesting how you actually get started in this, because I know when I first started in real estate, I originally thought, like, how could I afford one of these homes, right? I never understood the money side of these deals. I'm gonna stand right here so it looks like I got this cool little, no, I'm just kidding. All right, so the money side of this thing. When I first got into real estate, and I still hear people say this all the time, like, I don't have, like, for example, we paid $90,000, no, how much did we pay for this house? Yeah, $90,000 for this house. People were like, I don't have $90,000 to buy a house, and they want a cash offer, right? Like, okay, so how do I come up with a cash offer if I don't have $90,000? How do I do that? Well, there's a couple different ways, right? One, a rich uncle, which I don't have a rich uncle that's going to give me a ton of money anytime I ask him for it. The second option is rich friends and family, right? Again, so if you can find someone in your family that's willing to take a bet on you, well, that's an option. If you're like me and your family won't give you money just because they'd rather spend their money and they don't really want to invest with you, that's cool. I have another way. It's the bank, right? It's still other people's money or private money. Now, on this one, a traditional bank doesn't really want to play the game or fix and flip, right? Because like they're looking for those secure ways. Now, you can buy houses, right, traditionally with 3.5% down, 5% down, 10% down, 20% down, or if you're a veteran, Military House Hacking, the book that we wrote, we talk about how you can get it with 0% down. But those ones are typically houses that you're going to live in. Now, these houses we have no intention of ever living in unless we go belly up, then we have to live in them, which, fingers crossed, we don't do. But what we're really doing on these ones right here is we're going after like private money. Basically, there are funds with different banks like Lima One, Select Capital, Lending Home, and all these other brokers that are doing these fix and flip rehabs. Now there's also another package where it does fix, flip, refinance at the end rehabs if you're deciding that you want to rent these homes. All right, for example, if we want to buy this house, fix it and renovate it, at the end when we get the certificate of occupancy, we can convert it into a rental and they'll lock that loan into a 30-year fixed. Now if that doesn't make sense to you, let me slow it down and let me explain it a little more. All right, basically we are buying these houses, this one right here, this $90,000 house. Now, if you're just getting started, the banks are going to want 20% down, which is still a lot better than the 90,000, right? So if you want to buy a fix and flip, you can get into this for 20% down. So in this case, you'd be around 18,000 plus your closing points. Now, your closing points are traditionally the documents and all that other fun stuff like insurance and taxes and all that fun stuff that gets wrapped into it, plus your lender's closing points. So I typically plan on like 2% of the deal. So on this one, again, I would plan around $2,000 to $3,000 just in closing cost. So for example, in this $90,000 home, we have our 20% down, plus we have our 2 to 3 points to be able to close. Those numbers are pretty consistent across the board. So if you're planning on it, just kind of plan on like your 20% plus your 3%, and that's what you're gonna have to bring to the closing table. Now, after you've flipped multiple homes, I think the number's either 4 for your 10% drop, and then after 10, they give you like 10% and move you up to like what's called the pro account. And now the pro account is awesome because literally we can go in and fix and flip these homes, and then when we need more money, like for example, like the roof, right? So if we spend $5,000 to $6,000 on the roof, we can just tell them that we completed the roof, we send them a picture, and they fund us that money right back and finance it right into the loan. So that's a really cool way that we're able to get moving on a lot of these properties. But for you, if you're just starting out, plan on going in 20% down in the 2 to 3 points. But know that after 4 or 5 flips, you may have the opportunity to go to where you're only paying 10% down on this flip. For example, on this one, that would be $9,000. And you still pay your 2 to 3 points, right? So now you're at 12 and a half, maybe $13,000 to be able to close on this property. Now, the beauty about one of these fix and rehab loans through the private money is that you can actually roll your rehabs into that loan, right? So they'll do, so we call it 20 and 100 or 10 or 90 and 100, right? Or I'm sorry. So 20% down and 100% of the rehabs, or 10% down and 100% of the rehabs. And that's really how we're able to get a lot of these things going, because we're kind of leveraging the bank. And typically it starts off around 12% interest and it works its way down to around 8% is where the kind of the bottom is once you get into these pro accounts and you're doing quite a bit. Now, here's the thing, right? On $100,000, 12% interest, $12,000 for the year, like for a year. Like these loans are typically only for 1 year. Hopefully it doesn't take you a year to flip these houses. Typically we want to be in and out of them in the rental side 4 to 6 weeks, and we want to sell it in another 4 to 6 weeks, which gives us 3 months. So on $100,000, we plan on financing $3,000 to $5,000 of that into our cost there, right? So just kind of keep that number in mind when you're cranking your numbers on these properties, that you're going to have to pay this little interest payment on the property. All right, so I hope this like kind of breaks down like a big wide overview of how to finance these things. But typically, if you've never got started with real estate or you're interested in starting real estate, the first call is if you're going to buy and live in it, then talk to a credit union, talk to someone that's close to you, and you can buy a primary residence. They're going to give you the best rates, your FHA loans, your 3.5% down, your 5, 10, whatever they have there. In Florida right now, in Georgia, they also have this 100% loan. If again, you just have to shop your banks to get into these things. Now, if you're fixing and flipping, the banks that I've used recently is Lending Home and Lima One, and they've been very good to me, especially when it comes to closing and getting all their docs. And right now we're getting our properties for 10% down and 100% of the rehabs. And then when we finish a project like the roof or the paint or any of those things, we go back to the bank and we say, hey, this project is done. We put X amount of dollars into this project, and they go, all right, no problem. And they wire us the money back so that we can use that as operating capital for the next the next portion of the job. Now we just do that because we like to keep the money, like the velocity of money is really what keeps these things going, right? Like if I can get 4 or 5, 6 of these properties going at one time, and there's a lot of capital out there, right? So right now I think we have 2 in Connecticut, 2 in Pennsylvania, and 2 here that we're moving on right now. So that's a lot of capital out there. It's nice to be able to work with a banking or a financial institution that'll let me at least get my rehab costs back so I can keep floating this. Now, again, going back to the other side of the coin is if you don't have this 20% down or 10% down, you can partner with someone that's a money partner, right? Someone like myself. If you find a good deal, right? I've had a couple people reach out to me in the last week and tell me like, hey, look, I found this really good deal. Do you want to take a look at it? I take a look at it and the deal looks good and they don't have the funds to be able to move on it. Well, a money partner like myself or someone else that you may know that has experience may come in as a partner on that project, so that way you guys can go through the whole thing and both make money on the other side. So there's a lot of ways to make money and get started in this real estate game. But like for me, right, like I don't have the money to go out and buy a 100-unit building, right? So I have to work with other people that have the money to be able to do that. But I got a lot of experience when it comes to fixing and flipping real estate, especially single family homes, duplexes, quadplexes, 8plexes, and we just closed on that 10plex. So I got a lot of experience on renovating these properties. But again, I don't have a rich uncle that's going to give me all that money just so I can go out and play Monopoly with it. Maybe one day he will, who knows? But if that's where you're at, again, focus on finding the deal. I think it's the most important part. The lending, talk to your credit union. If you have questions or anything like that, I can give you some referrals. There's some awesome lenders in this group that can actually help you out with that too. But for now, we're going to get back into it. I really did set a goal of hopefully finish this thing by Thursday, which honestly would be ridiculously crazy because I truly believe it's going to be like a 2-week reno, like with the kitchen and the roof and all that stuff. But until then, I'm just going to keep hustling and grinding. Hope I was able to help you guys out. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out, drop them in the comments below. If you have questions about buying and fixing and flipping real estate, go to mitchdurfee.com /flip-it, and you can get my audiobook and ebook on buying and flipping houses. And it's going to just walk you through the whole process. I think it's like 21 bucks or something. But check it out. That way it can answer all your questions. It's a quick little read. And then you can get started in this business. And you can do something long-term, create that generational wealth. All right, millionaires, that's it for me. Thanks for watching. Peace.